That probably confused whoever it was. He took off. The watcher was a man. He had on sneakers and a dark hooded jumpsuit that blended in with the woods. I couldn't tell about his height or build. Not yet, anyway. Jesse and I raced behind him for a good quarter of a mile. Both of us were barefoot, so we didn't gain any distance on the watcher. We probably lost a few yards during our all-out sprint. Branches and thorns tore at our faces and arms. We finally burst out of the pine woods and found ourselves at a blacktop country road. We were just in time to hear a car accelerating around a nearby curve. We never saw the car, not even a glimpse of the license plate. "Now that's really goddamn weird," Jesse said as we stood by the roadside, trying to catch our breath. Sweat was rolling down our faces, and our hearts pounded in sync. "Who knows you're down here? Anyone?" I asked her. "No one. That's why it's so weird. Who the hell was that? This is scary, Alex. You got any ideas?" I had jotted down at least a dozen theories on the watcher whom Nina Saraiya had seen. The most promising theory I had was the simplest. The police had been watching Gary Sinigi. But which police? Could it have been anyone in my own department? Or Jesse's? It certainly was scary. We made it back to Jesse's cabin just before it turned dark. A wintry chill was entering the air. We built a big fire inside and cooked a fine meal that would have fed 4. There was sweet white corn, a huge salad, a 20-ounce steak for each of us, a dry white wine with Chassagne Montrachet, Premier Cru, Marquis de la Guiche etched on the label. After we ate, we got around to talking about Mike Devine and Charlie Chakely, and the Watcher. Jessie couldn't help too much. She told me I was probably looking in the wrong place with the Secret Service agents. She said that Chakely was an excitable type who just might blow up over a call to Arizona. She told me he was bitter on the job, so he'd probably be bitter off it. In her opinion, Mike Devine and Chakely were both good, but not great agents. If something was worth noting during the Goldberg family surveillance, they would have seen it. Their logs would have been accurate. Neither of them was clever enough to pull off a cover-up. Jessie was sure of that. She didn't doubt that Nina Saraiya had seen a car parked on her street the night before the Sanders murder, but she didn't believe that somebody had been watching Sinigi Murphy, or even that Sinigi had been down near the projects himself. "I'm not on the case anymore," Jessie finally said to me. "I don't represent the interests of Treasury or anybody else. Here's my honest opinion, Alex. Why don't you just give it up? It's over. Let it go." "I can't do that," I told Jessie. "That isn't how we do things at King Arthur's Round Table. I can't give up on this case. Every time I try, something pops up and changes my mind." That night we went to bed fairly early. 9:15. The Chassagne Montrachet Premier Cru did its job. There was still passion, but there was also warmth and tenderness between us. We cuddled, and we laughed, and we didn't go to sleep early. Jessie dubbed me Sir Alex, the Black Knight of the Round Table. I called her Lady of the Lake. We finally fell asleep whispering like that, peaceful in each other's arms. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. I was on top of ruffled bed covers and comforter, and it was very cold. There was still an orangish glow from the fire, a quiet crackling noise. I wondered how it could be so cold in the bedroom with the fire still going. What my eyes saw, what my body was feeling, didn't add up. I mulled on that for a few seconds. I crawled under the covers and pulled them up to my chin. The glow reflected against the window pane looked strange. I thought about how odd it was to be there with Jessie again, in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't imagine ever not being with her now. I was tempted to wake her, tell her that. Talk to her about anything and everything. The Lady of the Lake. And the Black Knight. Sounded like Geoffrey Chaucer for the 1990s. Suddenly, I realized it wasn't a glow from the fireplace that was flickering against the window. I jumped out of bed and ran to take a look. I was witnessing something I had heard about all of my life, but had never expected to see. A cross was burning very brightly on Jessie's lawn. Chapter 73. A missing little girl named Maggie Rose. Murders in the projects. The thrill killing of Vivian Kim. A psychopath, Gary Saniji Murphy. An accomplice, a mystery watcher. A fiery cross in North Carolina. When would the pieces finally fit together? Would the pieces ever fit? From that moment in Jessie's cottage until the end of everything, my head was filled with powerful, disturbing images. I couldn't give up the case as Jessie had suggested. Events the following week added to my paranoia. I came home late from work on Monday. Damon and Janelle swarmed all over me as I stomped the dozen paces from the front door to the kitchen. "Phone, phone, phone," Damon chanted as he romped along at my side. Nana was holding the phone out to me from the kitchen. She said it was Wallace Hart calling from Falston Prison. "Alex, I'm sorry to bother you at home," Wallace said. "Could you swing by here? It might be important." I was trying to peel my jacket off. I stopped, one arm in, one out. The kids were helping me. Sort of helping me. Sort of trying to get me to throw out my back. "What is it, Wallace?" "I've kind of got my hands full tonight." I stuck my tongue out at Damon and Janny. "Couple of little problems around the house. Nothing I can't handle, though." "He's asking for you. He wants to talk to you, and only you. Says it's very important." "Can it hold until morning?" I asked Wallace. I'd already put in a long day. Besides, I couldn't imagine anything new Gary Murphy could tell me. "He's Saniji," Wallace Hart said over the phone. "Saniji wants to talk to you now." I was speechless. Then I managed. "I'm on my way, Wallace." I arrived at Falston in under an hour. Gary was being housed on the prison building's top floor. High-profile patients like Squeaky Fromm and John Hinckley had spent time up there. It was the high-rent district, just the way Gary wanted it. When I arrived at his cell, Gary was lying face up on a narrow cot without sheets or a blanket. A guard watched him continuously. He was on specials, as one-to-one surveillance is called. Wallace Hart said, "I was thinking of putting him in a quiet room for the night. Keep him on specials and seclusion for a while, until we know what's up with him. He's flying, Alex." "One of these times he'll fly apart," I said, and Wallace nodded agreement. I entered Gary's cell and sat without being asked. I was tired of asking for permission from people. Gary's eyes were pinned to the ceiling. They seemed pushed back into his skull. I was certain he knew I was there. "Here's Alex." "Welcome to my Sikushka, Doctor," he finally said, in an eerie, gravelly monotone. "Do you know Sikushka?" It was Saniji, all right. "The prison hospitals in Russia. It's where they put political prisoners in the Soviet Union," I said. "Exactly so. Very good." He looked over at me. "I want to make a new deal with you." clean slate. I'm not aware of any deal, I told him. I don't want to waste any more of my time here. I can't keep playing Murphy. Wouldn't you rather find out what makes Senigi tick? Sure you would, Dr. Cross. You could be famous yourself. You could be very important in whatever circle you choose to participate in. I didn't believe this could be a fugue state, one of his escapes. He appeared to be very much in control of what he was saying. Had he been Gary Senigi all along? The bad boy, right from the first time we'd met? That had been my diagnosis. I held to it. "Are you with me so far?" he asked from his cot. He stretched his long legs out in a leisurely manner and wriggled his bare toes. "You're telling me now that you were fully conscious of everything you did. There was never a split personality. No fugues. You played both parts. Now you're tired of playing Gary Murphy." Senigi's eyes were focused and extremely intense. His gaze was colder and more penetrating than usual. Sometimes, with severe schizophrenics, the fantasy life becomes more important than the real one. "That's right. That's the ticket, Alex. You're so much brighter than the others. I'm very proud of you. You're the one who keeps things interesting for me. The only one who can hold my attention for long stretches at a time. And what do you want from us?" I tried to keep him on track. "What can I do you, Gary?" "I need a few little things. But mainly, I just want to be myself, so to speak. I want to be recognized for all my achievements." "Do we get anything in return?" Senigi smiled at me. "I'll tell you what happened. From the beginning. I'll help you solve your precious case. I'll tell you, Alex." I waited for Senigi to go on. I kept going back to the pronouncement over Gary Senigi's bathroom mirror. I want to be somebody. He had probably wanted to take credit from the very beginning. I had always planned to murder both children. I couldn't wait. I have this love-hate thing with childhood, you know. Cut off breasts and shaved genitals, so my adult victims are more like kiddies. Anyway, killing the little bunions would be the logical and safe conclusion of the whole affair. Senigi smiled again. It was such a weird, inappropriate smile, as if he were confessing a white lie. "You're still interested in why I really decided on the kidnapping, aren't you? Why I chose Maggie Rosebud and her friend Shrimpy Goldberg?" He was using the nicknames to be provocative and flip. He loved the bad boy act. He had revealed a very dark sense of humor over the months. "I'm interested in everything you have to say, Gary. Go right on." "You know," he said, "one time I figured out that I've killed over 200 people. A lot of children, too. I do what I feel like, whatever hits me at the moment." The greasy, automatic little smile appeared again. He was no longer Gary Murphy, no longer the all-American-looking yuppie husband and father from Wilmington, Delaware. Had he been killing since he was a boy? "Is that true? Are you still trying to shock me?" He shrugged. "Why should I? When I was a boy, I read volumes about the Lindbergh kidnapping case. Then all the big crimes. I made copies of all the clippings I could find in the Princeton Library. I've told you some of this, haven't I? How I was fascinated, absolutely enthralled, obsessed with kidnapping children, having them completely under my control. I wanted to torture them like helpless little birds. I practiced with a friend. You met him, I believe. Simon Conklin. Just a small-time psycho doctor. Not worth your time. Not a partner.